How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, December 17th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I am going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Friday, December 16th, and I am going to preview what's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Moving sport by sport, taking a quick step back, there are 2 games left in the FIFA World Cup in Qatar. The third place game between Croatia and Morocco is today, and the FIFA World Cup final between Argentina and France will take place tomorrow to see which of these nations will get to 3 World Cup wins first. Taking a look at what's going on with college sports here in the States, yesterday was the first day of the 2022 bowl season to mark the end of the college football season for some. And then, of course, for the 4 teams in the college football semis, only 2 of those teams will play one more game beyond this. Taking a look at what's going on with college basketball, there was actually no college basketball for ranked teams yesterday, but there's a lot of college basketball today as I'll go through every single matchup. There are some NFL matchups today. There are 3 Saturday games. This is the first round of Saturday action this year as teams are starting to clinch playoff spots in the NFL. And then in the arena sports, the NHL and the NBA, we're still in the beginning half of those seasons. Starting out with what's going on in Qatar, today is the third place matchup between Croatia and Morocco, the top 2 teams of Group F. Looking at how these 2 teams would make it to this round, looking first at Morocco, the winners of that group. Their first matchup in the group stage would end up as a draw versus Croatia, 0-0. So of course, a matchup today will settle which team would be better between the 2 head up. And then taking a look at the second matchup from Morocco, they would beat Belgium 2-0 with their 2 goals coming in the second half from Romain Saiss and Zakaria Abou-Khlal. In their third group stage match, Morocco would end up beating Canada 2-1. Their 2 goals would come in the first half from Hakim Ziyech and Youssef En-Nesyri, as Canada would end up losing to every single team in the group. After they would make it through the group stage, Morocco would end up beating Spain in the round of 16 off of penalty kicks, as of course by then people were aware of how great their player Bono is. After that win, Morocco would beat Portugal in the quarterfinals 1-0 with their lone goal coming in the 42nd minute from Youssef En-Nesyri. After that, they would lose in the semi-final to France 2-0. Morocco would give up a goal in the first 5 minutes to Theo Hernandez, and Randal Kolo Muani would score France's goal in the second half, tipping it in after Kylian Mbappe tried to shoot it on goal. So that's how Morocco would make it here. Croatia would finish second in the group after they ended up drawing their first matchup with Morocco. Croatia's second group stage match would eventually see them beat Canada 4-1. Their goals would come from Andrej Kramaric for the first goal. Marko Livaja would score their 44th minute goal to make it 2-1 in the first half after Alphonso Davies scored the first goal. Kramaric would score in the 70th minute to complete his brace, and Lovro Majer would score in the 94th minute to put Croatia up by 3. And then in their third matchup, they would have to draw against Belgium 0-0 to eliminate Belgium from the round of 16. Once Croatia would make it to the round of 16, they would draw with Japan 1-1. After Japan would strike first in the first half, Croatia's lone goal in the second half came from Ivan Perisic. Croatia would go on to beat Japan 3-1 in penalties as their goalie Dominik Livakovic would show his glove to the world. After that round of 16 win, Croatia would end up beating Brazil 1-1 in the quarterfinal as they won that game on penalties as well. After Neymar would score the first goal in the first half of extra time, Bruno Pekovic's 117th minute goal would be what saved Croatia and put them in the semifinal round for them to get beat by Argentina 3-0 on Tuesday, as they gave up a penalty kick goal from Lionel Messi, followed by a Julian Alvarez goal 5 minutes later to make it 2-0 Argentina at the half. Argentina's third goal will come from Julian Alvarez off of a wonder assist from Messi, as with this loss, Croatia now will be facing off against Morocco in this third place game. Morocco would win or lose. This will be the best finish in their nation's history in the World Cup. The only time they've made it out of the group stage in the World Cup was in 1986 in Mexico, where they would get eliminated in the round of 16. More specifically, looking into their last time past the round of 16, or past the group stage, in that year, Morocco would get eliminated by the West Germany team that would go to the final and get eliminated by Argentina. And then, of course, looking at the last time Croatia was in the third place game, it would be in 1998, the first time they were playing as Croatia in the World Cup. 2018, they were the runners-up. In 1998, they won the third place game to finish with the medals. So they are a two-time medalist in the tournament, looking to get their third. Morocco's looking to get their first. And, of course, the FIFA World Cup final tomorrow will be between Argentina and France. Of course, previewing that matchup for tomorrow, Argentina would finish in this World Cup final after finishing at the top of Group C. After losing their first matchup to Saudi Arabia 2-1, that would see Messi score the first goal for Argentina in the World Cup. Argentina would beat Mexico 2-0 with Leo Messi and Enzo Fernandez scoring both of those goals. Argentina would win their third group stage match against Poland, a game they had to win, with goals from Alexis McAllister and Julian Alvarez. In the round of 16, Argentina would beat Australia 2-1 with goals from Lionel Messi and Julian Alvarez to start the scoring. In the quarterfinal round, Argentina would beat the Netherlands 2-2. After they would beat them on penalty kicks. The first two goals of the game were scored by Nahuel Molina and Leo Messi before Wout Weghorst of the Netherlands would tie the game up right before penalties, or right before extra time. Lautaro Martinez would score the last penalty kick for Argentina to send them through, as of course Enzo Martinez did a really good job in goal for them. In the semifinals, Argentina would beat Croatia 3-0 as they are through to this round, and Croatia would get knocked down to the third place game as their three goals, like I said earlier, would come from Leo Messi, and then the other two would come from Julian Alvarez. Looking at the defending champions, France, they would finish at the top of Group D after winning their first group stage matches against Australia and Denmark. Their goals against Australia would come first from Adrien Rabiot. Their second will come from their striker, Olivier Giroud, who went the entire 2018 campaign without scoring a single goal. Their third goal would come from their golden boy, Kylian Mbappe, as Giroud would finish his brace in the 71st minute. After Australia would score the first goal of this game in a play that would result in Lucas Hernandez getting a serious knee injury and having his brother Theo step up. France's second group stage matchup would see them beat Denmark 2-1 off of a second half brace from Kylian Mbappe to split Andreas Christensen's Denmark goal. In their third matchup, France would lose 1-0 to Tunisia as Tunisia's Wabi Khazri would score the lone goal of that matchup. In the round of 16, France would beat Poland 3-1 with their three goals coming from, their first one coming from Olivier Giroud to set a new French high. Kylian Mbappe would score another brace in the second half as he now is sitting on 5 goals in the tournament. In the quarterfinal round, France would beat England 2-1 with their first goal coming from Aurélien Tchouameni. England's Harry Kane would tie it up with a penalty kick in the second half. Olivier Giroud would put France above as Harry Kane would miss his second chance, giving France the pass to go to the semis. In the semis, France would end up beating Morocco 2-0 as their first goal would come from Theo Hernandez 5 minutes in, and their second goal came from Randal Kolo Muani, banishing Morocco to today's third place matchup, as France will get a chance to be the first repeat champs in World Cup history since 1962. So that is where we are in Qatar, and of course I'll get into this more tomorrow, and of course transitioning into what's going on with college sports here in the States. Looking first at the Duluth Trading Care Bowl between the two ranked opponents. 24th ranked Troy would face off against 25th ranked UTSA, University of Texas San Antonio. This matchup would see Troy beat UTSA 18-12 as this matchup took place in Orlando. After UTSA outscored Troy 12-7 in the first half, Troy would outscore UTSA and shut them out 11-0 in the second half. After UTSA took a 12-0 lead, Troy would take the outright lead off of a 12-yard touchdown pass from Gunnar Watson to Ray J. Johnson in the third quarter. as they would score 18 unanswered to win the game. On the losing end of this matchup, the 25th ranked UTSA Roadrunners would be led out in passing by their quarterback for the day. Their quarterback coming into this matchup would be Frank Harris. Their senior from Schertz, Texas, would end up throwing for 194 yards as he had a touchdown through the air and 2 interceptions. His 12 yards on the ground would add up to 206 yards of offense for UTSA. Their leading rusher was Kavorian Barnes. Their freshman out of St. Augustine, Texas, would finish with 138 rushing yards. He also had 10 yards through the air, giving him 148 total yards of offense. UTSA's leading tacklers on the defensive side would be Trevor Harmonson and Trey Moore. Trey Moore, UTSA's freshman out of San Antonio, the hometown kid, would finish with 6 tackles. He had 3.5 tackles for loss as he had 2 of the team's 6 sacks. The team's 2 interceptions went to Clifford Chapman and Kelechi Nwachukwu. Clifford Chapman would finish with 4 tackles alongside his interception, and Nwachukwu would finish with 3 tackles alongside his. On the winning end of this matchup, 24th ranked Troy would be led out by their starting quarterback Gunnar Watson. Their junior out of Butler, Georgia, would lead the Trojans with 113 passing yards as he had a touchdown and 2 interceptions through the air. Troy's leading rusher would be Kamani Vidal. Their sophomore out of Marietta, Georgia, would finish with a total of 72 rushing yards as he had a rushing touchdown. His 7 yards through the air gave him 79 yards. On the defensive side of the ball, Troy would be led in tackles by their senior linebacker out of Mobile, Alabama, Carlton Marshall. He would go on and finish with 14 total tackles on the day, as Troy would combine for 2 sacks and 2 interceptions. KJ Robertson would finish with one of the team's interceptions as he had 9 total tackles on the day. Richard Jabuner would go on and finish with 2 tackles on the day, as Troy's junior out of Delta State, Nigeria, would finish with a sack, a fumble recovery, as well as an interception for the team. With this win, the 24th ranked Troy Trojans will finish this season with a 12-2 record. This will come after they finish their regular season with a 19-point win against Coastal Carolina to win the Sun Belt. And with this loss, the 25th ranked UTSA Roadrunners would finish their season with an 11-3 record after they would go on and beat North Texas in the final game of their season in order to run away with the Conference USA title. So of course, congratulations to both of these teams for how they would finish their seasons. And then of course, looking at the other bowl game that would happen yesterday, it would be between UAB and Miami, Ohio. In this matchup, the UAB Blazers would beat the Miami, Ohio Redhawks 24-20. They would win this game by 4 after they outscored Miami, Ohio 10-6 in the first half. Both teams would score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. In this matchup, Miami, Ohio would take the lead in the third and fourth quarters, but UAB would have the last laugh with a 12-yard touchdown run from Jermaine Brown Jr. with less than 2 minutes left. On the losing end of this matchup in the Bahamas, the Miami Redhawks were led in passing by their freshman quarterback out of Lexington, South Carolina, Avon Smith. He would throw for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. His 50 yards on the ground would give him 212 total yards of offense. Miami's leading tackler on the defensive side would be Matthew Salopek. Their sophomore out of Kent, Ohio, would finish with 15 total tackles, the most of any player yesterday. He had a tackle and a half for loss as well. Ryan McWood would finish with 14 tackles himself, and the team's lone interception will go to Rowan Zolman. On the winning end of this bowl matchup, the unranked UAB Blazers would be led in passing by their starting quarterback, Dylan Hopkins. Their junior out of Maryville, Tennessee, would end up throwing for 204 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. His 7 yards on the ground gave him 211 yards of offense total. UAB's leading rusher would be Jermaine Brown Jr. Their junior out of Mobile, Alabama, who finished with the game-winning touchdown, would finish with 24 carries for 116 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And then, of course, He would finish with 6 yards through the air, giving him 122 yards of offense. UAB's leading receiver would be Trey Shropshire. Their senior out of Zachary, Louisiana, would finish with 6 receptions for 183 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, the UAB Blazers would be led in tackles by Raynard Ellis. Their senior from Birmingham, Alabama, would finish with 10 tackles as he had half of a sack and half of a tackle for loss. UAB as a unit will combine for 4 sacks as they had no interceptions as a defense. With this win, UAB will finish their season with a 7-6 record after having finished with tied for the 4th best record in Conference USA with Middle Tennessee and Florida Atlantic this year. And then, of course, on the losing end of this matchup, the Miami, Ohio Redhawks will finish their season with a 6-7 record, having tied with Kent State and Western Michigan for what would be the 5th best record, or the 6th best record in the MAC at the end of this football season. Taking a look at what is going on with college football going into today, there are a few bowl games going on because today is Saturday. At 11 a.m. on ESPN, unranked Louisville is going to face off against unranked Cincinnati in Fenway Park for the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Cincinnati finished the season with a 9-3 record as Louisville finished their season with a 7-5 record. At 2:30 on ESPN, the only ranked team that will be playing will be the 14th ranked Oregon State Beavers. They enter this matchup after having finished with the 5th best record in the Pac-12 this year, and they are going to face off against an unranked Florida Gators team who enters this game with a 6-6 record. At 3:30 on ABC, the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl presented by Stifel is going to be in SoFi Stadium as the 9-4 Fresno State Bulldogs are going to face off against the 7-5 unranked Washington State Cougars. At 5:45 on ESPN in Hancock Whitney Stadium in Mobile, Alabama, 6-6 Southern Miss is going to face off against 5-7 Rice as the Owls are going to face off against the Golden Eagles. At 7:30 on ABC, 7-5 BYU is going to face off against 7-5 SMU in University Stadium in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the New Mexico Bowl. Last but not least on ESPN, unranked Boise State, sitting at 9-4, will face off against unranked North Texas in the Frisco Bowl in Toyota Stadium. So that is what's going on with bowl season. Transitioning into what's going on with college basketball. There was no college basketball yesterday, but looking at what's going on today, at noon, 8th ranked Kansas is going to host 14th ranked Indiana in Allen Fieldhouse as Kansas are the defending champs. Kansas enters this matchup with a 9-1 record as Indiana is now 8-2. At 12, at the same time, 25th ranked Miami is going to host unranked St. Francis in Pennsylvania. At 1 o'clock, 15th ranked Gonzaga is going to face off against 4th ranked Alabama at the CM Newton Classic. Alabama enters this matchup with a 9-1 record as Gonzaga is 8-3. 2 o'clock is going to see a top 5 matchup in college basketball. As 2nd ranked Virginia, who is undefeated at 8-0, is going to host 5th ranked Houston, who is 10-1 and used to be the number 1 team of the nation. At 3 o'clock on SEC Network, 17th ranked Mississippi State, who is undefeated at 10-0, is set to host unranked Nicholls. At 3 o'clock, 23rd ranked Ohio State is going to host unranked North Carolina in Madison Square Garden. So I guess they're not hosting them, as North Carolina was the team that started this season as the number 1 overall team. At 4 o'clock, 10th ranked Arkansas is going to host unranked Bradley. At the same time, 18th ranked Illinois is going to host unranked Alabama A&M. At 4 o'clock at the same time, 24th ranked Virginia Tech is going to host unranked Grambling as Virginia Tech is undefeated at home so far. At 5:15, 13th ranked Kentucky is going to face off against 16th ranked UCLA in Madison Square Garden for the CBS Sports Classic. Kentucky enters this matchup with a 7-2 record as UCLA is 9-2. At 6:15 on Big Ten, the new number 1 team in the nation, undefeated Purdue, is going to face off against unranked Davidson in the Indy Classic. in Indianapolis, Indiana. At 7 o'clock on FS1, third-ranked UConn is going to face off against unranked Butler in Indianapolis, as UConn is 11-0 so far. And then there's going to be another top 10 matchup in college basketball at 10:30 in Tucson, as 9th-ranked Arizona, who is 9-1, are going to host the 6th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers, who are also 9-1. So that's college sports. Taking a look at what's going on at the professional level, there's going to be 3 NFL games going on today, all on NFL Network. At 1 o'clock, the 10-3 Minnesota Vikings, who are currently holding the second best record in the NFC, are set to host the Indianapolis Colts, who hold on to a 4-8-1 record. The Colts are pretty far out of the playoff picture, considering they have 3 less wins than the 7th seed Patriots, and the Colts have, 4 games left in their schedule as of this point. With a win here, the Vikings can stay ahead of the 49ers and can more than likely clinch their playoff spot with a win today. At 4:30 on NFL Network, the AFC North leading Baltimore Ravens are set to go to Cleveland to face off against the Cleveland Browns. Right now, the Ravens are tied with the Bengals for the best record in their division, so they cannot slip up here. The Browns are currently holding on to 2 less wins than the 7th seed Patriots, so the Browns are also in must-win mode if they want to make the playoffs this year. And then at 8:15, the AFC East leading Buffalo Bills at 10-3 are set to host the 8-5 Miami Dolphins. 2 wins separates these 2 teams in the division, so a Dolphins win wouldn't completely turn the Bills' season upside down. But right now, the Bills are tied with the Chiefs for the best record in the AFC. A win would temporarily put them ahead and put pressure on Kansas City going into tomorrow's games. But of course, that's the NFL. Looking at what happened yesterday in the NHL, there were just 3 games yesterday. Starting off with what happened in Minnesota, the Wild would host the Chicago Blackhawks. The Wild would beat the Blackhawks 4-1 at home off the back of their right winger from Oslo, Norway, Mats Zuccarello. As the Wild would have 4 goals as a team, Zuccarello would have 3 of them, and he would have the assist on the other goal. With this hat trick, Mats Zuccarello is sitting on 13 goals this season, and he has the top star. The second star will go to Minnesota's left winger, Kirill Kaprizov, as he had a goal and 2 assists. Minnesota center Sam Steele would finish with the third star, as he had 2 assists for himself. With this win at home, the Minnesota Wild are 17-11-2. As of right now, their 36 points in 30 games is the 3rd best record in the Central Division. They are now sitting 5 points behind the division-leading Dallas Stars. Their 4-game winning streak is now the longest active winning streak in the Western Conference in the NHL right now. In the Eastern Conference, only the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New York Rangers have longer active winning streaks in the NHL than the Minnesota Wild. The Wild have won 8 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the Chicago Blackhawks are 7-18-4. Their 18 points through 29 games is now the worst record in the entire NHL. In the Central Division, they sit 23 points behind the division-leading Dallas Stars. The Blackhawks are currently on a 6-game losing streak. Their 6-game losing streak is currently the longest active losing streak in the entire NHL, as they've now lost 9 of their last 10 games. Jumping out to Calgary, the Flames would host the Blues from St. Louis. The St. Louis Blues would beat the Flames 5-2 thanks to 3 goals scored in the 3rd period. They would take full-on advantage in the 2nd period off of Jordan Kyrou's power play goal to put the Blues ahead in the 2nd period. Jordan Kyrou, St. Louis's center out of Toronto, would be the top star of this game. As he had 2 goals. I'm pretty sure I said that. St. Louis's goalie Thomas Greiss would finish with 41 saves, as he did allow 2 goals to the Flames. The 3rd star would be St. Louis's center out of Aurora, Ontario. Robert Thomas would finish with 2 assists. With this win on the road, the St. Louis Blues are now 15-15-1. Their 31 points in 31 games is the 5th best record in the Central Division. They sit 10 points behind the division-leading Dallas Stars, as the Blues now hold on to a 3-game winning streak. As of right now, only the Minnesota Wild have a longer active winning streak in the West than the Blues do. The Blues have won 4 of their last 10 games to date, and with this loss at home, the Calgary Flames are 13-12-6. Their 32 points in 31 games is the 5th best record in the Pacific Division. They sit 13 points behind the division-leading Vegas Golden Knights. Their 5-game losing streak is just short of the Chicago Blackhawks for the longest active losing streak in the entire NHL. The Flames have lost 6 of their last 10 games to date. Last but not least, jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Coyotes were able to sneak out a win at home against the New York Islanders. There was a lot of back and forth going on after New York would score the first 2 goals of this game. After the score was tied at 3 by New York's Noah Dobson, Arizona would start off the third with 2 goals to start it off, the first of which to give them the outright lead would come from Travis Boyd. It would be his 3rd goal of the season, as he would be the 3rd star of the game, Arizona center from Edina, Minnesota. The top star of this game would be Arizona's right winger, Clayton Keller, out of Chesterfield, Missouri, as he had a couple goals to himself. Arizona's center out of Madison, Wisconsin, Nick Schmaltz, would finish with a trio of assists. With this win at home, the Arizona Coyotes are now holding on to a 10-14-4 record. Their 24 points in 28 games is the 2nd worst record in the Central Division. They now sit 17 points behind the division-leading Dallas Stars. The Coyotes have won 3 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the visiting New York Islanders are 17-13-1. Their 35 points in 31 games is the 5th best record in the Metropolitan Division. They are currently sitting 9 points behind the division-leading New Jersey Devils, and they have lost their last 3 games to date. The Islanders have lost 6 of their last 10 for the time being. The New Jersey Devils and the Red Wings are the 2 teams in the East with longer losing streaks than the Islanders. Taking a look at what's going on today in the NHL, the very first game will be on NHL Network, as the Eastern Conference and NHL leading Boston Bruins are set to host the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are holding on to the worst record in the East. And then, of course, that will be the only game that should be on NHL Network today outside of that primetime game. At 1, the Detroit Red Wings are going to host the Ottawa Senators, as both of these teams have 13 wins. At 4 o'clock, the Edmonton Oilers are going to host the Anaheim Ducks, as the Ducks are no longer holding the worst record in the NHL. At 7 o'clock, the Carolina Hurricanes are going to host the Dallas Stars, as the Stars are currently leading the Central Division. The Hurricanes are just 4 points out from the lead in the Metropolitan Division. At 7 o'clock, the Montreal Canadiens are going to host the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Lightning being the defending back-to-back-to-back Eastern Conference champions. At 7:30, the Metropolitan Division leading New Jersey Devils are set to host the Florida Panthers, as the Devils are on a 4-game losing streak right now. At 7 o'clock, the Philadelphia Flyers are going to host the New York Rangers, as the Flyers are now holding on to the 2nd worst record in the Metropolitan Division. At 7 o'clock, actually this game will be on NHL Network, the Washington Capitals are set to host the Toronto Maple Leafs, as the Maple Leafs are currently tied with the Devils for the 2nd best record in the East. At 9 o'clock, the Arizona Coyotes are set to host the Buffalo Sabres. At 9, the defending champs Colorado Avalanche are going to host the Nashville Predators, as the Avalanche hold on to the 4th best record in the Central Division. At 10 o'clock, the Vancouver Canucks are going to host the Winnipeg Jets. At 10, the Western Conference leading Vegas Golden Knights are set to host the New York Islanders. And then at 10:30, the LA Kings are going to host the San Jose Sharks, with the Kings holding the 2nd best record in their division. Staying within the arenas, but moving to the NBA. Starting off in Charlotte, the Charlotte Hornets would host the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks would beat the Hornets 125-106 on the road. They won this game by 19 after outscoring the Hornets by 13 in the 4th quarter and then by 14 in the 1st. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Charlotte Hornets would be led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Los Angeles, LaMelo Ball. He finished with 27 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists in 33 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 18 from the field, 7 for 13 from 3, and he would shoot 2 for 3 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Hornets center Nick Richards had 13 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 23 minutes. Nick Richards would shoot 5 for 9 from the field and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Atlanta Hawks would be led in scoring by their elite starting point guard and former All-Star Trae Young. Trae Young would finish with 31 points and 9 assists in 34 minutes. He would shoot 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 13 for 14 from the free throw line. Atlanta starting shooting guard Bogdan Bogdanović would finish with 28 points and 9 rebounds in 29 minutes. Bogdan would shoot 9 for 14 from the field, 7 for 10 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win on the road, the Atlanta Hawks are now 15-15. Sitting at 500, the Hawks are now tied with the Miami Heat and the Indiana Pacers for the 7th best record in the East. The Hawks sit 7 games behind the conference-leading Boston Celtics, as they have now won 4 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are 7-22. They now hold the worst record in the Eastern Conference and the worst record in the NBA as a whole, for that matter of fact. They are the only team in the NBA with less than 8 wins. They are sitting 14.5 games behind the conference-leading Boston Celtics. The Hornets' 7-game winning streak is just short of the Wizards for the longest active winning streak in the NBA, as the Wizards hold an 8-game losing streak. The Hornets have lost 8 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Detroit, the Pistons would host the Sacramento Kings. The Kings would light the beam after beating the Pistons 122-113. They won this game by 9 on the road after they would outscore the Pistons by 15 points in the third quarter alone. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Pistons would be led in scoring by their starting small forward, Bojan Bogdanović. Bojan would finish with 22 points in 30 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 16 from the field as he made all 9 of his free throw attempts. Detroit starting center Jalen Duren had 15 points and 14 rebounds in 30 minutes. He would shoot 5 for 7 from the field and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Kentucky, De'Aaron Fox. He had 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists in 39 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 19 from the field and 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Sacramento starting power forward and former All-Star Domantas Sabonis had 23 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals in 41 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 11 from the field and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. Sacramento starting small forward Keegan Murray had 20 points in 36 minutes. He would shoot 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and he would make both of his free throws on the night. With this win on the road, the Sacramento Kings are 16-12. They hold the 5th best record in the Western Conference, as they now sit 3 games behind the conference leading Memphis Grizzlies. The Kings are on a 2-game winning streak as they've won 6 of their last 10 games to date, and with this loss at home, the Detroit Pistons are 8-23. They're holding on to the 2nd worst record in the East and the 2nd worst record in the entire NBA. They sit 14.5 games behind the conference leading Boston Celtics. They've now lost 7 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Boston, the conference leading Boston Celtics would host the Orlando Magic. The Magic would pick up their 10th win in beating the Celtics 117-109 in Boston. As with this win from Orlando, there are now 4 teams left in the NBA that have yet to pick up a double-digit amount of wins. The Magic won this game by 8 on the road after outscoring the Celtics by 8 in the first half, by 4 in the first and second quarters each. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Boston Celtics would be led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Duke, Jason Tatum. Tatum had 31 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in 38 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 20 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Boston starting shooting guard out of Cal, Jaylen Brown, had 26 points and 2 blocks, as well as 7 turnovers in 37 minutes. He would shoot 7 for 17 13 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Orlando Magic would be led in scoring by their starting center out of Michigan, Moritz Wagner. He had 25 points and 8 rebounds in 23 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 12 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he would make all 6 of his free throws. Orlando starting power forward, their rookie out of Duke, Paolo Banchero, would finish with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists as he nearly fouled out in 37 minutes. Paolo shot 5 for 13 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. With this win, the Orlando Magic are now 10-20 this season. They're holding on to the third worst record in the Eastern Conference as they now sit 12 games behind the conference leading Boston Celtics, who they just beat. The Magic are on a 5-game winning streak. Only the New York Knicks have a longer winning streak in the East. The Magic have won 5 of their last 10 games. With this loss, the Boston Celtics are 22-8. They still hold on to the best record in the entire NBA. In the East, they sit a full game ahead of the second-place Milwaukee Bucks. The Celtics have lost 4 of their last 10 games to date, as the Magic have only won 2 of their first 13 road games as of right now. Jumping out to Cleveland, the Cavaliers would host the Indiana Pacers. The Cavs would beat the Pacers by 6 at home. They won it 118-112. The Cavs would have to outscore the Pacers by 17 in the fourth quarter as they came into the quarter trailing by 11. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Pacers were led in scoring by their rookie shooting guard off the bench, Bennedict Mathurin, out of Arizona. He had 22 points in 29 minutes. He would shoot 7 for 16 from the field and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. Indiana's starting point guard, Tyrese Halliburton, out of Iowa State, had 17 points, 14 assists, and 3 steals in 35 minutes. He would shoot 5 for 13 from the field as he would make all 7 of his free throw attempts. Indiana starting center Miles Turner had 12 points and 11 rebounds in 30 minutes. He would shoot 5 for 9 from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Cleveland Cavaliers would be led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard out of Louisville, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell would finish with 41 total points on the day alongside 3 assists in 37 minutes. He would shoot 14 for 24 from the field, 8 for 15 from 3 as he would make all 5 of his free throw attempts. Cleveland's starting point guard, Darius Garland, would finish with 20 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. The former All-Star would shoot 5 for 11 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3. He would make all 11 of his free throw attempts. With this win at home, the Cavaliers are 19-11. That is the third best record in the Eastern Conference. They now sit 3 games behind the conference leading Boston Celtics. They now hold the 5th best record in the NBA overall, as a matter of fact, as well. They're on a 2-game winning streak, and they've now won 6 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the Indiana Pacers are 15-15. Sitting at 500, they are tied with the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks for the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference. The Pacers are sitting 7 games behind the conference leading Celtics. They've lost 7 of their last 10 games to date with this one. Jumping out to Philadelphia, the 76ers would host the defending champs, Golden State Warriors. The Sixers would beat the Warriors 118-106, as the Warriors now drop to 2-14 on the road to start their season. On the losing end of this matchup, the Warriors would actually get outscored by 14 in the second half as they came into the halftime break leading by 2. On the losing end of this game, the Warriors would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Michigan, Jordan Poole. He had 29 points in 37 minutes. He would shoot 10 for 20 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Golden State starting shooting guard Dante DiVincenzo out of Villanova had 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists in 35 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 13 from the field and 5 for 8 from 3. Golden State starting center Kevon Looney had 14 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 26 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 8 from the field and make both of his free throws. Golden State's elite starting shooting guard Klay Thompson, the 4-time champ, would finish with 12 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 steals in 35 minutes. He would shoot 4 for 17 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. He would make his only free throw attempt on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Philadelphia 76ers would be led in scoring by their elite starting center out of Kansas, Joel Embiid. Embiid had 34 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and 6 turnovers, as he did not commit a single foul in 36 minutes. He would shoot 11 for 23 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. Philly's elite starting shooting guard and former MVP James Harden finished with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 9 assists in 37 minutes. Harden shot 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and 7 for 9 from the free throw line. With this win at home, the Philadelphia 76ers are 16-12. They hold on to the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference, sitting 5 games behind the conference-leading Boston Celtics. The 76ers are on a 4-game winning streak. They have won 7 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss, the defending champs Golden State Warriors are 14-16. They are holding on to the 5th worst record in the Western Conference, just 2 games below 500. They sit 6 games behind the conference leading Memphis Grizzlies right now. The Warriors are on a 3-game losing streak. Only the OKC Thunder have a longer active losing streak in the West. With this loss, the Warriors have lost 6 of their last 10 games to date as the defending champions. Jumping up north of the Canadian border, the Toronto Raptors would host the Brooklyn Nets. The Raptors would end up falling short as the Nets would beat the Raptors 119-116 thanks to a last-second buzzer-beating 3-pointer from Kyrie Irving. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Raptors would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, their former All-Star out of Wichita State, Fred VanVleet. He would finish with 39 points, as well as 5 rebounds and 4 assists in 43 minutes. Fred VanVleet would shoot 14 for 24 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Toronto starting small forward, the reigning Rookie of the Year, Scotty Barnes out of Florida State, finished with 26 points in 40 minutes. He would shoot 8 for 18 from the field and 10 for 11 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Brooklyn Nets were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard and former number 1 overall pick out of Duke, Kyrie Irving. Irving had 32 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists in 35 minutes. He would shoot 13 for 22 from the field, 3 for 9 from 3 as he made all 3 of his free throws. The Nets' goated starting power forward and back-to-back finals MVP Kevin Durant would finish with 28 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists as he had 5 turnovers in 37 minutes. He would shoot 10 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he would make all 6 of his free throw attempts. Brooklyn starting center Nick Claxton had 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks in 26 minutes. He would shoot 5 for 5 from the field and 5 for 8 from the free throw line. Brooklyn's elite starting point guard out of LSU, Ben Simmons, finished with 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in 32 minutes. Their former All-Star would shoot 5 for 7 from the field. With this win on the road, the Brooklyn Nets are now 18-12. They are now holding on to the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference. They sit 4 games behind the conference-leading Boston Celtics. The Nets are on a 5-game winning streak. Only the New York Knicks have a longer active winning streak in the East. The Nets are the only team in the Eastern Conference, and alongside the Grizzlies, one of 2 teams in the NBA, who have won 9 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the Toronto Raptors are 13-16. They are holding on to the 10th best record in the East. They sit 8.5 games behind the conference-leading Boston Celtics. Their 4-game losing streak is, of course, accompanied by the fact that they have lost 7 of their last 10 games. The Wizards and the Hornets are the 2 teams in the East with longer losing streaks than Toronto at this point. Jumping out to Chicago, the Bulls would host the New York Knicks. The Knicks would beat the Bulls 114-91 to extend their winning streak to 6 games, the longest active winning streak in the East. The Knicks would win this game by 23 points after they would outscore the Bulls by 8 in the second quarter. They were up by 5 at the half. They would outscore the Bulls by 7 in the third quarter and then by 11 in the fourth to outscore them by 18 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Bulls would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine. He had 17 points and 5 turnovers in 30 minutes. LaVine would shoot 7 for 12 from the field and 3 for 5 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting New York Knicks would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Duke, R.J. Barrett. Barrett had 27 points in 38 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 20 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and he would go on and shoot 6 for 11 from the free throw line. New York starting point guard Jalen Brunson had 22 points, 6 assists, and 3 steals in 31 minutes. He would shoot 7 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and he would go on to make both of his free throws. New York starting shooting guard Quentin Grimes would finish with 22 points in 29 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 10 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. New York starting power forward Julius Randle had 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 steals in 36 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 16 from the field and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. With this win on the road, the New York Knicks are 16-13. They are holding on to the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. They now sit 5.5 games behind the conference-leading Boston Celtics. The Knicks' 6-game winning streak is the longest active winning streak in the East. Only the Memphis Grizzlies have a longer active winning streak in the NBA. The Knicks have won 7 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss at home, the Chicago Bulls are 11-17. That is the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They now sit 10 games behind the conference-leading Celtics. They're holding on to a 3-game losing streak, and the Bulls have lost 7 of their last 10 games to date. Jumping out to Oklahoma City, the Thunder would host the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves would beat the Thunder by 2 after they would outscore the Thunder by 11 points in the second quarter. As on the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Thunder were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of Kentucky. He had 35 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 turnovers in 38 minutes. He would shoot 11 for 23 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. Oklahoma City's starting shooting guard out of Australia, Josh Giddey, would finish with 11 points, 13 rebounds, and 6 assists in 30 minutes. He would shoot 5 for 10 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the visiting Minnesota Timberwolves were led in scoring by their starting center out of LSU, Naz Reid. He had 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals in 37 minutes. He would shoot 11 for 18 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3 as well. Minnesota's starting shooting guard out of Duke, Austin Rivers, would finish with 20 points and 5 steals in 31 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 7 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3 as he made all 4 of his free throws. Minnesota's elite starting shooting guard out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards, had 19 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists in 35 minutes. Ant would shoot 8 for 16 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and he would shoot 1 for 5 from the free throw line. With this win on the road, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 14-15. They're holding on to the 10th best record in the Western Conference as they sit 5.5 games behind the conference-leading Memphis Grizzlies. The Timberwolves have won 4 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 11-18. That is the 3rd worst record in the West. They sit 8.5 games behind the conference-leading Grizzlies. Their 5-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the Western Conference. The Charlotte Hornets and the Washington Wizards are the 2 teams in the East with longer losing streaks in the NBA overall than the Thunder. The Thunder have lost 7 of their last 10 games to date. And then, of course, taking a look at what would happen in Dallas, Texas, one state south, the Mavericks would host the Portland Trailblazers. The Mavericks would beat the Trailblazers 130-110. They would win this game by 20 at home after they would outscore the Trailblazers by 10 in the second quarter and by 16 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Portland Trailblazers were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard out of Weber State, Damian Lillard. Lillard had 24 points and 3 assists in 24 minutes. He would shoot 6 for 14 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, and 9 for 10 from the free throw line. Portland's power forward off the bench, Trendon Watford, had 16 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 24 minutes. He would shoot 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. He had 33 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists in 29 minutes. He would shoot 11 for 18 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. Dallas's forward off the bench, Christian Wood, had 32 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 30 minutes. He would shoot 11 for 17 from the field. He would go on and shoot 2 for 7 from 3 and 8 for 10 from the free throw line. With this win at home, the Dallas Mavericks are 15-14. They hold the 9th best record in the West as they sit 4.5 games behind the conference-leading Grizzlies. The Mavericks have won 6 of their last 10 games to date. And with this loss, the Portland Trailblazers are 16-13. They are holding on to the 6th best record in the West as they sit 3.5 games ahead or behind the division and conference leading Memphis Grizzlies. The Trailblazers have lost 5 of their last 10 games to date. Last but not least, in LA, the Lakers would host the Denver Nuggets and the defending back-to-back NBA MVP, Nikola Jokic. The Lakers would beat the Nuggets 126-108 as they are now 7-7 at home. On the winning end, the Lakers would win this game by 18 after they had to outscore the Nuggets by 13 in the fourth quarter, 19 for the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the visiting Nuggets were led in scoring by the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic. The elite Serbian center would finish with 25 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 4 steals, and 5 turnovers in 35 minutes. Jokic would shoot 8 for 15 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the free throw line. Denver starting point guard out of Kentucky, Jamal Murray, had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 turnovers in 36 minutes. He would shoot 8 for 16 from the field and 5 for 7 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown LA Lakers were led in scoring by their goated starting small forward in the NBA's active scoring leader, LeBron James. He would finish with 30 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. LeBron would shoot 13 for 20 from the field. He would shoot 1 for 4 from 3 and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Lakers center, Thomas Bryant, had 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals in 24 minutes. He would shoot 9 for 11 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the free throw line. The Lakers' goated point guard off the bench, the NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles, Russell Westbrook, would add 1 to his total. He had 15 points, 11 rebounds, 12 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes. Russell Westbrook would shoot 5 for 13 from the field and 5 for 8 from the free throw line. Going back into the Lakers starting lineup, their elite starting power forward, Anthony Davis, would finish with 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists in 17 minutes. He would shoot 4 for 7 from the field as he would make both of his free throws. After he did appear to tweak his foot after making a basket. Transitioning into what's going on with this win, the LA Lakers are now holding on to a record of 12-16. That is the 4th worst record in the West as they sit 7 games behind the conference-leading Grizzlies. The Lakers have won 5 of their last 10 games to date. With this loss, the Denver Nuggets are 17-11. They hold the 3rd best record in the West as they sit 2 games behind the conference-leading Grizzlies. The Nuggets have lost 4 of their last 10 games to date. Transitioning into what's going on today in the NBA. Today is Saturday. So, of course, looking at the games that are going to be on prime time at 5 o'clock In Mexico City on NBA TV, the 9-19 San Antonio Spurs, who are tied for the worst record in the West, are going to host the 15-15 Miami Heat, who are tied with the Atlanta Hawks and the Pacers for the 7th best record in the East. After that, at 9 o'clock, the Phoenix Suns, who hold the 4th best record in the West, are going to host the New Orleans Pelicans, who now are sitting second in the West to the Memphis Grizzlies right now. Outside of the primetime games, at 4 o'clock, the LA Clippers are going to host the Washington Wizards. At 8 o'clock, the Cavs are going to host the Mavs in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. At 8 o'clock, the Rockets, who are tied for the worst record in the West, are going to host the Trailblazers as they look to pick up their 10th win of the season. At 8 o'clock, the Milwaukee Bucks are set to host the Utah Jazz as were the second team to pick up 20 wins this year. And then at 8 o'clock, the Grizzlies look to be another team to pick up 20 wins as they are going to OKC to face off against the Thunder, who hold the 3rd worst record in the West, as the Grizzlies now hold the best record in the West. That brings us to where we are right now, and I do want to thank the ESPN, the FIFA, the NCAA, the NFL, NHL, and NBA for giving me all the facts and figures. And with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening. I apologize for the names that I butchered, and I will catch you with more tomorrow. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and of course, catch me on TikTok as well. Peace out, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.